Clint Eastwood, global icon, four-time Oscar winner, the man who can silence a room with a single squint, has one story he never tells. Not the White House visits, not the Oscars, not even the brawl that put a stuntman in traction. No, the tale that still makes him tense his jaw is the 1970 Western Two Mules for Sister Sarah. He refuses to watch it, refuses to talk about it, and if a hotel TV dares to play it, the remote becomes a projectile. Tonight we're prying open that locked chest, one uneasy chapter at a time, because buried inside is the feud, the stunt, and the secret that nearly shattered Eastwood's Iron Legend. If you think you already know Clint, stay put. There's a part of his story almost no one sees, and it changes how you watch every film he made after. Watch through the next 90 seconds and I'll show you the exact moment this film turned from paycheck to personal scar. Picture this. It's mid-1969. Eastwood's passport is still warm from Rome. The Dollars trilogy has rewritten the Western rule book, and every studio wants the tall Californian with the stainless steel stare. He's 39, rich and restless, when trusted director Don Siegel offers him a lead opposite Shirley MacLaine in a west-of-the-border caper. The pitch sounds easy. Quick shoot, modest budget, guaranteed box office. Eastwood signs. But the moment he cracks the script, he feels a hairline fracture. A cynical gunslinger paired with a chatty nun on a rebel mission? Cute. Maybe too cute. He shrugs it off, until the first table read. MacLaine arrives late, drops her satchel with a clang, and announces she has pages of notes. Eastwood's eyebrows climb so high they almost leave his hat. The quiet disquiet has begun. Before we go deeper, what's the one Clint role that defined him for you? Man with No Name, Dirty Harry, or other? Drop your pick in the comments. Coming up, the desert campfire outburst that crew members whispered about for decades, and a 2025 leak that finally blew it open. Shock collide. Eastwood versus MacLaine. From day one, their methods are oil and water in a skillet. Eastwood believes emotion lives in stillness. MacLaine trusts emotion erupts from rehearsal alchemy. She tweaks lines, adds hand gestures, asks Siegel for extra takes. Eastwood, who prides himself on nailing scenes in two, starts timing her monologues with his pocket watch. The powder keg ignites during a night shoot. Scene, a desert campfire. Moonlight, whispered confessions. MacLaine wants to improvise a 2-minute backstory. Siegel hesitates. Eastwood snaps. We're not shooting War and Peace out here. MacLaine fires back, loud enough that the boom operator's levels spike into the red. Legend says Siegel's teenage son, visiting the set, heard every scorching syllable and carried the story for 55 years before spilling it on a 2025 podcast. The crew pretends nothing happened, but morale dips faster than the desert temperature. Eastwood starts eating lunch in his trailer, door locked. MacLaine writes nightly letters to her agent. This picture is a rodeo of egos and mules. In 30 seconds, we'll hit the financial ice patch that nearly flipped the production, and the pyro gag Clint called danger disguised as comedy. Stay close. As July heat slams Durango, tempers keep pace. Eastwood corners Siegel, pushes for more grit, less banter, more moral gray. The studio pushes back, terrified of scaring off date night audiences. Siegel compromises, adds a fistfight here, a wisecrack there, pleasing no one. Budget overages mount, investors breathe down Siegel's neck. Then comes the infamous carriage explosion gag. Pyra miscalculates, the blast flares high, peppering extras with debris. No serious injuries, yet Eastwood storms off set, insisting the film has forgotten the difference between danger and circus. Production shuts for 36 hours. Insurance rates skyrocket. Siegel later admits the cascading reshoots ballooned the budget by roughly a fifth. Worse, the tonal tug-of-war leaves the final cut wobbling between gritty western and playful romp. Eastwood sees the dailies, mutters, "This mule's lost its shoes." We're heading into the danger zone next. Venom, heat stroke, and one rumor involving live ammo. Don't bail, you'll want receipts from movie night debates. Mid-August. 106 degrees in the canyon. A key scene. Eastwood drags a broken wheel wagon uphill. 3 takes in, he feels a sharp sting on his forearm. Bark scorpion. Set medic lunges with anesthetic. Eastwood waves him off. Wrap it tight. he growls, finishing the setup under a throbbing arm. Hours later, a camera assist collapses from heat stroke. Production doctor orders mandatory shade breaks. The schedule stretches like taffy. McClane quips, "We'll wrap by Christmas at this rate." Eastwood doesn't laugh. Then the whisper. Did someone mix live rounds into a prop ammo crate? Officially, no. Unofficially, the set goes silent. Inventory gets triple-checked, and Siegel calls a one-day halt. But the most lethal threat isn't venom or heat. It's exposure, the tabloids circling Clint's private life like vultures over the desert. Off-camera, Eastwood's marriage to Maggie Johnson is smoldering. He's balancing clandestine visits from Roxanne Tunis, already mother to his secret daughter Kimber. A Mexican paper snags a blurry telephoto shot of Eastwood and Tunis at a local cafe. Studio publicists panic. A hush-money envelope changes hands. The photo never prints. The stress frays the actor's legendary composure. Crew notice he flubs lines, unusual for the one-take wonder. During a night exterior, McClane catches him staring blankly into the cactus dark, hands flexing like he's rolling phantom cigarettes. Yet he powers on, until the final reveal. When he first hears McClane's character is actually a prostitute posing as a nun, he stares at Siegel. That's not a twist, that's a pratfall. Reshoot requests denied. He swallows the frustration, but a seed of regret roots deep. And that seed? Give me 20 more seconds and I'll show you how it grew into one of Hollywood's ugliest lawsuits. Legal lightning, the Locke fallout. Fast forward to 1989. Eastwood's longtime partner on screen and off, Sandra Locke, sues for palimony. Court documents dredge up diaries where Locke claims Eastwood's bitterness over Two Mules made him ferociously controlling of every later project they shared. The tabloids feast. Commentators crown the case Hollywood's nastiest breakup until the Depp Heard era decades later. Eastwood settles a fraud suit in '96, reportedly millions, while denying wrongdoing. But the damage is done. His gentleman gunslinger mystique now wears hairline cracks. Film historians pinpoint Two Mules as ground zero, the shoot that taught Eastwood to seize total creative control or walk away. Next, we jump to modern day, where a 94-year-old legend drops what might be his last film and still dodges any question that smells like Sister Sarah. Jump to modern day. Eastwood is 94, quietly directing Juror No. 2, a legal thriller anchored by Nicholas Hoult and Toni Collette. Its AFI Fest premiere on October 27, 2024, draws a long-standing ovation and launches a fresh round of "Is this his last ride?" think pieces. Industry blogs buzz that it could be his curtain call. Reddit threads tally his every on-set appearance, breathlessly speculating on retirement. Yet, every press junket has one off-limits topic. When a reporter asks, "If there's one film you'd redo, what is it?" Eastwood smiles thinly. Next question. Publicists enforce a silent veto. No Two Mules talk. Privately, crew whisper he still loathes the rough cut and has never sat through the finished print. Friends say he keeps the DVD in a locked cabinet, not out of nostalgia, but out of caution, as if the disc might bite. One last stretch. Why this 1970 shoot still crawls under Clint's skin, and why it matters to anyone who's ever regretted their own work. Why the film still haunts him. So why the enduring refusal? Part ego, part pain, part unfinished argument. The feud with McClane left bruises nobody truly saw. The scorpion sting faded, but the script's compromises scarred his artistic pride. Worse, the movie symbolized a season where life, love, and career blurred into one uncontrolled stampede. For a man famous for stoic mastery, Two Mules for Sister Sarah stands as proof that once he was cornered, out-argued, outvoted, and out of sync with his own instincts. Watching it means watching himself lose. The legend versus the lens. Eastwood can bury a film, but can he bury the memory? Maybe not. Maybe that's why, even as juror number 2 cements his legacy, the mere thought of a 1970 desert shoot still draws a shadow across those steely blue eyes. So here's the question I leave you with. If you built a life on unflinching courage, would you face the one piece of art that proves you flinched, or would you lock it away forever? Still here? Stay tuned for some bonus content.
You know what fascinates me about Hollywood legends? Sometimes the most iconic moments happen when the cameras aren't even rolling, like when Clint Eastwood called Richard Harris about a role and got a response nobody could have predicted.
Oh, tell me more about this. What exactly happened?
Well, it was 1991, and Eastwood was deep into pre-production for Unforgiven, which would later become this masterpiece that completely redefined the Western genre. He had his eye on Richard Harris for this really specific role, English Bob, this flamboyant gunslinger character.
That's interesting timing, because 1991 was really when Hollywood was starting to shift away from traditional Westerns, wasn't it?
Exactly. And what makes this story even better is how it perfectly captures that transition. So Eastwood picks up the phone himself. No agents, no middlemen, just Clint being Clint.
I can only imagine how that call went down.
Well, first the woman who answered the phone had to ask him twice who he was. And Eastwood, in that iconic understated way of his, just says, "It's Clint, just Clint." Like there could be any confusion about which Clint was called.
That's such a perfect Eastwood moment. So characteristically understated.
But here's where it gets really interesting. When they finally get Harris to the phone, his first words aren't hello, or even, is this really Clint Eastwood? Instead, he blurts out, is this Bob Joe? Is this Bob Joe?
Wait, what? Who's Bob Joe?
Well, that's the beautiful part. Harris was downstairs in his TV room, completely absorbed in watching High Plains Drift, one of Eastwood's classic westerns. He was so immersed in the movie that he was literally confusing reality with the film.
So you're telling me that when Clint Eastwood called him, he was actually watching a Clint Eastwood movie? That's almost too perfect.
And you know what makes it even more fascinating? High Plains Drifter was this really dark, supernatural western that played with genre convention. And here's Eastwood calling about Unforgiven, which would go on to completely deconstruct the entire western genre.
That's such an interesting parallel. It's like this perfect bridge between two eras of western films.
You know, it really speaks to something deeper about how we consume art. Here's Richard Harris, this incredibly accomplished actor, completely lost in a movie to the point where it affects his grip on reality.
That's so true. It really humanizes these larger-than-life figures, doesn't it?
And think about the timing. This was before cell phones, before caller ID, before all the layers of management that exist in Hollywood today. It was possible for one legend to just pick up the phone and call another legend directly.
How different do you think this interaction would be if it happened today?
Oh, it would probably involve multiple emails, agents coordinating schedules, maybe even a Zoom call. We've lost something in all that professionalization, haven't we?
It makes me wonder how many other great Hollywood stories like this we've missed, because everything's so carefully managed now.
And you know what's really remarkable? This moment of complete candidness, this almost fanboy reaction from Harris didn't hurt his chances at all. In fact, he got the role and went on to give this incredible performance in Unforgiven.
That really says something about Eastwood as a director too, doesn't it? That he could appreciate that kind of genuine enthusiasm.
Absolutely right. And it's worth noting that Eastwood has always been known for running really relaxed, efficient sets. He likes working with people who are passionate about the craft, who bring that kind of authentic enthusiasm to their work.
Do you think moments like these are still possible in today's Hollywood?
Well, they probably happen differently, but I think what this story really captures is something timeless. That moment when our love for something completely overtakes our professional facade.
And in a way, that's what makes this story so relatable, even though it's about these huge Hollywood figures.
Exactly, because we've all had those moments where we're so caught up in something that reality kind of sneaks up on us. It's just that most of us don't have those moments. Clint Eastwood on the other end of the phone.
And most of us aren't watching the person who's calling us while they're calling us.
You know, it's worth noting that this kind of unguarded moment became increasingly rare as Hollywood moved into the digital age. Today, every interaction is potentially public, which makes these genuine, unscripted moments even more precious.
That's such a good point about how technology has changed these interactions. Do you think it's made things better or worse?
I think it's created this interesting paradox. We're more connected than ever, but those connections are often more managed, more curated. This story reminds us of what we might be losing, those raw, unfiltered moments of human connection.
It really makes you appreciate how special these old Hollywood stories are.
And you know what's really interesting? Unforgiven went on to win win 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. So this wonderfully human moment was actually the beginning of something truly historic in film.
That's what makes these behind-the-scenes stories so fascinating. They show us how these monumental things often start with these very human moments.
And in this case, it started with one legend watching another legend on TV, while that same legend was trying to reach him on the phone. You couldn't script something like that if you tried.
It's like a perfect little time capsule of a Hollywood that doesn't really exist anymore.
And maybe that's why we need to keep telling to remind ourselves that even in an industry built on artifice and carefully managed images, there's still room for genuine human moments.
That's a perfect way to look at it. These stories keep that old Hollywood magic alive.
And they remind us that sometimes the best moments in life are the ones we don't see coming. Even if you're Richard Harris and what you don't see coming is Clint Eastwood calling while you're watching one of his movies.